Okay, welcome and good afternoon. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jürgen Lindner. I run product marketing for the SaaS applications, and very glad to be joining the session with two of my esteemed colleagues who, I'll let you best introduce yourself. It would be nice to maybe give also a little bit of color, how long you've been with Oracle. I mean, for myself, I've been with Oracle for 3 years. Prior to that, 20 years with SAP. So I still have a very fresh perspective, and some of the transformation actually has happened way before I started in the Oracle. So maybe by means of introduction, Claire, do you want to go first?
Thank you, Jürgen, and good afternoon. Thank you all for coming to listen to our session today. My role at Oracle, I'm the HR VP, and I run a team of HR business partners. We work to support the executives who are based across the EMEA region. A number of my team are here today, so thank you for joining us. We tend to focus on the more strategic side of HR. We look after mergers and acquisitions, we look at resource planning, we work with the executives on their succession planning and their retention efforts. So I joined Oracle 10 years ago now. It's flown by. I joined through the Sun Microsystems acquisition.
Thank you, Claire. And my name is Maria Smith. I'm Assistant Corporate Controller here at Oracle. And I joined Oracle in 1999 when I was a baby. And I'm responsible for corporate accounting. I look after the JPAC region for controllers, EMEA, and the Americas. And I'm also responsible for M&A, the coordination of all of the back office M&A, and we've had 145 so far, so I don't know if there's a story I haven't seen yet in M&A. Thank you.
So 145, who's counting? Yeah, so we certainly are a very acquisitive company. I think it's 10 to 12 on average per year that we're doing, and a highly efficient machine in that. Maybe to set context of this conversation, what we're really seeing is that we did a study with MIT in 2018, and the notion of the question was really, how important is to have a unified functions across HR and finance? And what we found is that in 2018, 35% of corporations already indicated that a shared service function between the two would make a lot of sense. And 75% of those corporations who have been embarking on that journey saw tremendous amounts in terms of business benefits. So in that light of context, the transformation started already in 2014, I want to say, with HCM Cloud, where we started. We then added quickly to the Enterprise Performance Management Cloud, ERP Cloud, Supply Chain Cloud as well. So maybe if I can ask both of you, Claire, I'll start with you. Was there a specific business driver that basically drove us, a transformational driver that really allowed us to go to cloud?
Yes, so you're right. 6 years ago, we started our Oracle transformation, and we started it with the HCM Cloud products. Like probably many of our customers, we were managing from spreadsheets. We had different processes in different countries, and in many ways, we were plugging what was quite an administrative system with bolt-ons. And what we needed to move to was something that was global, something that would be more employee-centric, and something that would really take us as a function forward. We needed to focus on what our HR priorities were and what our strategies were, not on the administrative tasks and debates about the tools and should we be using a 9-box grid or a 12-box grid. We needed unification. So yes, we started with HR.
Well, for us, we really needed the functionality that was on the cloud to be able to support Oracle moving from a product company to a service company. Really, we had to have the same experience as our customers on the cloud. The customers are on the public cloud, no customizations, we have to be on the same place. The customer is basically our priority and their success. If we're not experiencing what our customers are experiencing, we're really not at the table then to give product development the feedback which we can give them now. So that was pretty critical. One of our key objectives is to have a no-touch automated close and processes. And the cloud is really enabling us to do that. So they would have been the key drivers for us to move to the cloud.
Thank you so much. There's a logical question that I typically get. It's what do you do first? Do you typically start with human capital management? Do you start directly going into finance? Why did we choose the model we chose, and what are potentially guidance along the lessons learned for our customers? Claire, maybe I'll start with you again.
Yeah. Thanks, Jürgen. So yes, you're right. Our customers ask us that all the time. You know, any back office transformation, should we start with HR or should we start with finance? And to be honest, a lot of it is driven by what the customer needs are. So we started with HR because that fulfilled our highest strategic priority. If you think about employee data, it really underpins everything that an organization is about. We need consistent data, we need reliable data, and we need that single source of truth. So once we'd loaded the employee data, we could have confidence that that would support driving our financial functions as well. So it helped us compartmentalize cost centers, it helped us look at T&E, it helped us with resource planning and budget planning. So once we had that data, it really formed the baseline for all of our financial transformations that followed.
Thank you, we share everything. I think obviously it depends on the complexity of different businesses, but for us it absolutely made sense to go for HCM first. As Claire, you said, it's absolutely foundational information to your accounts. The data on cost centers, employees, if you think about your accounts, many companies, 1/3 of the costs in a P&L can be employee related, so it drives so much. The other reason is it had cut out so much inefficiency and duplication. We're completely in sync all the time. Anytime there's a reorganization, both of us are in sync instantaneously. And when you think about it, I know some people I speak to and some customers, they talk about some of the frustrations they have by having hierarchies in one system in HR and then different hierarchies in finance, and even trying to get their open PO accruals done. Or, I know it's in a lot of detail, but this is where they have real pain points. Whereas for us, there's one hierarchy, there's one cost center structure. It's not, we don't even think about it. It's absolutely easy for us because we're integrated. The other thing I would say is, being a controller, I'm obviously concerned about risk and security. And when we have 140,000 employees and you have attrition and you have new joiners, how do you know all the time that the right approvals are in place for who should be purchasing things, that it's purchased in line with your policies? Or if somebody leaves your company, they don't have access anymore, they're not going into POs, they're not expensing things. So with constant movement in a huge company, the data coming from HR is up to date and real time, so the controls in place for access, segregation of duty, for all of you who know about audit, it's all up to date. And that actually permeates the same situation when we go to do M&A. We have the same benefit there.
That's fantastic. Claire, you seem to be in control of the mic. Is there something you wanted to add, or?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Because Maria was already hinting to where I wanted to go next. Bringing those two functions very closely together has seen benefits, as you said, in terms of security, data flows, business process alignment. For you specifically, Claire, on the HR side, what were some of the impacts you were seeing? What did our employees potentially also experience along the way?
So, probably like many of your companies, we're exceedingly fast-paced. There's ever-challenging demands on HR, there's ever-challenging demands on finance. Budget planning is one of the most integrated processes that we run, and I'm really confident and proud that across our business, we start discussions very much with HR and finance in full alignment. We never start discussions around, let's try and reconcile our headcount first. We never start discussions around, let's look at, where our growth areas are in our business. That data, as Maria said, is available to us in a single interface, and it's real-time data. So we start discussions about growth. We start discussions about what's the right size of the business to have for next year. And that's a very powerful start point. It's the same with our systems when we're talking around talent. We no longer start with, is the tool functioning? Is it fast? Is it going to be up to date? We start the discussions at a far more strategic level now, and that really benefits our employees as well. All of our HCM products are built with the employee in mind. They're easy to use. They're easily accessible. You can go in on your phone. You can go in on your iPad. You can check it on your laptop. And again, very powerful data available to both our employees from an HR side and also from a finance side.
Fantastic. I forgot to mention in the beginning that we like very interactive sessions here. So, I mean, if there's any questions, please, at any given point in time, raise your hand. We'll let the mic come through, and feel free to fire off. I mean, maybe going back to Maria, I was very inspired by your session earlier as to how we really saw tangible business benefits with a little bit of risk of repetition. Could you highlight some of your proudest moments, to be honest? I mean, there's a lot of things still to come, as you were hinting towards, but what are some of those things where you really said that had fundamental impact on how we run our business?
Yeah, I have to say again, and it's really because of the foundation, we have one data set with HCM, but also, with all of the subledgers. And having the cloud, with the features in the cloud, like, our vision is for a non-touch close. And I'm telling you, years ago, when we talked about this, I didn't believe it. I really thought it was pie in the sky stuff. And since we've gone on the cloud, I'm now the one that's going with my team. This is possible. It really is. And what we said we would do first is we would go towards a one-day close on our quarter ends. And for those of you who follow Oracle, you would see that we're releasing our earnings on the 11th day or the 12th day after the end of the quarter. There isn't another company on the planet who is touching that. That's not closing your books. That's getting through your audit, your finance and audit committee meetings, everything else that has to be done with investor relations to get to release your earnings in that time frame. So, of course, I'm just so lucky. I have a great team. And what do? Let's do it faster. Let's do it faster. So we have this high bar of a one-day close. And much to when you say your proudest moments, I have so many at the moment. I never loved my job as much as I do now. We closed, OFSS is a big consulting company inside Oracle. It's quoted on the Bombay Stock Exchange, and we closed it in one day in November. I couldn't believe the speed with which we were able to get to a dream. It is a dream for us. And now we have an internal deadline, which maybe I won't say because it's an internal one, as to when we bring Oracle to the one-day close. And it's not that far away. And I explained at the previous session, there are features on the cloud that have changed the game. They've absolutely changed the game in accounting. One of them is global accounting. So you don't account in each entity separately, where you have Germany doing their accounts, France doing theirs, UK doing theirs. You can post one entry across, in our case, hundreds of entities in one go. And we've reduced our manual accounting already by 35%. Our open POs, again, helped by the fact that, our open POs make sense. The people who are raising them and approving them and receiving products or services is all up to date. 3 hours now globally. Our intercompany accounts, including 145 acquisitions, is done in 1.5 hours. I have not met another colleague or company that is doing that. And it's a big source of concern to a lot of people that we talk about when they really want to know, how do you do it? How do you do it? And we're obviously very open to sharing this, because coming back to the main point, why do we want to do this? There's a few reasons. One is we want to be able to share what we're learning with our customers, because we want our customers to be so enthusiastic, the same way as we're enthusiastic about this and what's possible. It's making the life of an accountant become something completely different. We're like engineers or technologists, with an accounting training. It's just changing our role, and it's just amazing. Yeah.
I'm so glad you're saying that, because I mean, change management is a big part, right, of everything that we're doing, and we tend to obviously envision that there's a liberation effect, that from the mundanity of certain repetitive tasks, you can really become a steward of the business. So I very much hear, Maria, that we're on this journey very successfully. Fantastic. I mean, Claire, if I might ask you the same question on the HR side, what were some of the highlights that come to mind for you?
Yeah, thanks, Jürgen. So we talk about employees being the center. You know, employees are what make our company successful. Employees drive our business. And one of the things I'm really proud of with HCM Cloud is that we can give employees insight into not only what their career looks like today, but what their future career is going to look like. Having a global talent module is very powerful. As an employee, I can elect to either stay in my home country or I can flag to my manager's manager, that I would be open for a move. I'm very confident that Oracle is now looking not only at the skills that I've got today, but I'm able to record the skills that I want to have in the future. And through the tools, the managers have got a very clear pathway of not only the bench strength today of their organization, but what they're going to need for the bench strength for their organizations to perform tomorrow. And again, having that data that employees, we used to have, you know, employees spend a lot of time putting data on LinkedIn. If you're putting data on LinkedIn, shouldn't you be at least putting the same level, if not more, into your company's profile? You want to show your company where your aspirations are. You want to show your company what your past experience is. And I'm really confident now that we do deliver for our employees for today and for tomorrow.
That's fantastic. We're in a tech conference, obviously, and a business conference. So a lot of themes here around what's next, what's possible with new technology, and what are we aspiring to do. Maria, I taught the tail end of your session over there, and you hinted towards some of the exciting things we are aspiring to. What would be next on the agenda for you?
Okay, so I'm not sure how many accountants we have in the crowd, so I'll try and make accounting relatable here. When we, on the cloud, update, obviously, the parent company's ledgers, right? We're also updating the statutory ledgers. And for any of you involved in finance, you'll find you spend so much time on local entity compliance. And the audits of all of those local entities can take so much time. So the same philosophy that we're bringing to the one-day close, we've got to set our goal on what that timeline is, but we're going there with the statutory close as well. In Oracle, we have hundreds of legal entities. Do the team love spending all the time doing all of this? No, they don't. But they love figuring out how to automate it and improve it. That's when the eyes sparkle. They love it. And we have some tools that we're using now that we didn't have before, like narrative reporting. It's an EPM product. It's like half Word and half Excel. We're setting up 120 sets of accounts in narrative reporting, and the data is flowing from the statutory GL into it. And we will have standardized 120 set of accounts. Next year, there are comparatives. The data will flow from your statutory ledger into next year's accounts, and largely, we're nearly there. And it opens up so much scope. For example, if one of my accountants with IFRS sets up a note, we can use that for tens and tens of entities. It just means, again, that you don't have to recreate everything at every entity level. There's huge, huge efficiency. And one of the other things we're doing at the moment is we cannot release our results in 11 workdays if we have not tied out our balance sheet. You can't do that. You could have a real surprise sitting there in a reconciliation on your balance sheet. You know, nobody likes a surprise in the middle of results time, right? Using ARCS, which is Account Reconciliation Cloud, we're automating 20,000 reconciliations. Part of what you will see is in the past we had Excel spreadsheets for each reconciliation and people emailing those spreadsheets to their manager and saying, please approve this. That's gone. Everything is in the system. There's workflows for approval. There's an audit trail of every question asked, and there's automation in it. And key things like, if there's no activity, it's automatically done. So how much time did my team spend opening up a load of accounts and recs just to find out, was there even any activity? So the benefits are huge, absolutely huge. So we want to go to the automated statutory close as well. That's part of where we want to go. Do you mind if I mention something about M&A? Because this is something we, again, coming back to the topic, which is better together. One of the things we've learned is how closely and how much it benefits us working together in the M&A space, or even reorganizations. Because when we're doing those 145 acquisitions, as you can imagine, the workload is big. But because we have one system between us, when we acquire a company, we can just get, for example, who are all the employees that are going to come across onto Oracle's systems at the LEC date or the CIC date. And basically, when HR do the work of understanding where each of those employees should sit in our company, what line of business, and then what cost center, that data is loaded in on the day we change control. And everything is in our systems. And the acquired employees are following our policies on expenses, our policies on purchases. And for risk, again, I'm probably a control freak. I know that we have certain approval, rules, for example, around somebody who's expensing something with a public sector customer. We have extra rules around that. So I know the minute we acquire the company, that all of those employees are automatically following the same procedures and rules, and we are in control in that regard. So I think working together, like what Claire does on the employee side, apart from all the employee relations aspect, but really she makes my job easy because she does my job, because once the employees are in, we really are ready to go then. They're using everything we use. And actually what we've also found is there was one company we acquired and they had a different system in every country in the world. I won't name the country or the entity. And it was so hard. But when we came along and said, we have one system, you have one user interface. So when you get your log on, you can go in and access your finance, your ARCs and EPM. You can go in and enter your team's compensation. You can go in and do your expenses. You can go in and do your POs. One user interface, one look and feel. Do you know how much easier it is to train all the acquired companies on one way and not have to go and teach them 10 or 20 different ways to do things? And it does help me sleep at night.
And just to add to that, if I put into context, 1 in 3 of our employees came through an acquired company. So one of the smartest things that my boss ever did was on the first acquisition to actually step back and say, I need to harmonise. On day one, wherever that day one is, in whatever country, I need to harmonise terms and conditions, I need to harmonise pension plans, healthcare benefits. Imagine the number of pension plans that we would have running, 145 acquisitions later, with multiple countries running multiple systems in different jurisdictions. That's a very, very smart move. Employees know on day one what their contract of employment looks like, what they'll be entitled to, and then they feel part of the organisation, accessing jobs, accessing talent information, accessing, as Maria has said, our financial side of the business. It really has been a game changer for us.
Fantastic. Let me check once again with the audience. Oh, there's a question.
How difficult did you find it to harmonise all your companies, entities, etc.?
I'm looking around to see if I've got any M&A experts in the audience. Look, it's tough. It's tough maybe for the first 10 companies while we're learning to do it. As you go through the process, each time it becomes easier. We know what financials we need. We know where we get our information from. So it does become easier. as an employee who's been through that process, I can't recall quite where Sun Microsystems was, but it was probably around 80, maybe 90 or so in the running order. It's a very smooth machine. So yeah, we're very clear with employees what we're going to do. We communicate very well. They're very clear on the timelines. And actually, having gone through that experience, I'm very proud, not only of what the HR teams do, but the finance teams and the dedicated resources that we have around the globe to support our acquisition strategy. Thanks. Can I talk about quality? You asked,
always can.
Can I? Thank you. You asked Maria the question about what's down the line, what's the next steps. For me, it's now about quality. So we've shifted the discussion with managers. We've have employees who are curious to use our technology. At this point, this is the first year that we launched our goals process. At this point, I've got more than 80% of our EMEA-based employees have got goals in the system that they're actively working against. Now, what I want to do is check the quality of those goals. We've got a very clear corporate strategy. I know that there's information in the system, but really one of the next developments for me and my team is to check the quality of what employees are working towards, making sure that it's all rolled up, making sure that as a team you've got very clear goals that you're working against and the strategies behind the work that you do. So for me, moving forward, it's less about our systems. I think they're embedded into the culture, they're woven in by now. We've got the execs using them, which is always a big step. And for now, we need to start focusing on quality of information.
Fantastic, and can read minds, which is fantastic for an HR professional. That was precisely the question. The last question I want to leave you with is maybe just the emerging technology pieces, right? We have so many exciting new things like expense reporting, conversational type of experiences. How are we pushing the envelope at Oracle to do that?
So maybe I'll just give some examples because I'm no expert in machine learning, that's for sure. I'm looking at Kritika, actually is. So one of the things that we are using is in our bank reconciliation process. If you don't mind, I don't mean to bore you with accounting, but it's actually quite fascinating. Because we're using this global accounting feature in the cloud, our bankers can give us all of the transactions globally for all of the bank accounts we have with that bank globally. So we take that feed into ERP and we're at 92% automated matching. So instead of having my team going through and matching all of that, we're at 92%. I am telling you, I never thought it would be that high this fast. Also, it will take foreign currency and post it to FX gains or losses, bank charges, post it to bank expenses. And when you manually match two transactions that weren't automatically matched, the next month it will ask, should I match those two again? There could be a small rounding. So once the controller checks it's not a control issue, say yes, go ahead and match those. So I know Kritika in AP, we have, for example, the learning there that says, should you or should you not approve an expense report? So there's so many policies and procedures, around what you should and shouldn't approve. And it's very hard as a manager to know all of them, to be frank about it. So the system is automatically recommending, based on all of the history, that you should or you should not approve. If you think about 140,000 employees, all of the expense reports coming through, again, it's huge, huge efficiency. So we have AP, we have bank recs. In the area of sales credits, yeah. So when some of our salespeople, if they sell, and hopefully they do, when they sell, they get a sales credit, and again, through machine learning, who that sales credit should go to, and what territory they're in or what products they're in, there's machine learning there to automatically populate that. So we're seeing a big, we're on that curve at the moment, and that is our next big thing. Kritika, would you like to add anything in this?
Yeah, we also have the adaptive intelligent products that Oracle releases is ready to go. And currently we have an active implementation to implement a feature called intelligent discounts. So we've got a lot of insights on suppliers. We have first party data. First party data is things like supplier transactions that we have in our ERP systems. And then an acquisition that we did called DataFox gave us third-party data. Third-party data is external to our ERP system, company and business data. When we marry up the two, we get a lot of insights on suppliers. And using those insights, we can recommend to the AP clerks saying, hey, if you offer these suppliers early payments, they're going to give you additional discounts. So that is a feature that the IT team is looking to implement over the course of the next few months. And then we have a lot going on in the area of bots. Yeah. We talked about expense bots, a lot more coming in the area of bots.
I think what's interesting, Jürgen, is, as you can see, product development and finance and HR, we are working joined at the hip. And this is actually a change in how we're working in Oracle as a result of this transformation and as a result of the cloud. And for example, what my team is doing is gathering all the ideas where they're doing manual tasks and making a good list of those. I then sit down with Kritika and product development, and we start going through those lists to understand what would benefit us and which ones would benefit customers. And then we're working on those with product development. And that's how we're going to get from the one-day close to the non-touch close, because that's the bit. It's going to be the 80-20 rule, and that's the bit we're going to have to crack through that type of absolute automation. Yeah.
It's fantastic. First of all, I love how inclusive the session got, how cross-functional we're extending and very flexibly. Maybe just one final thoughts from you, Claire, as to how technology is going to shape the future.
Look, I think technology is making all of our jobs easier every single day. It takes a lot of investment up front. There's pain points, and there's work still to do to make it better. But very proud of where we've got to. Very proud of what we're selling our customers. It's a delight to be able to use internally the products that we're selling as well, and to be able to talk to many customers over the last couple of days. So thank you for joining us today. And if there's any last questions, we'll take them now before we close.
Last solicitation of questions? There is one.
What do you have to say to those who worry about technology and their jobs?
Yes, very good question. Thank you. If I just reflect on the work that technology is enabling my team to do, we've been able to drop a lot of the administrative tasks. We've really been able to focus on where we can add value to our employees, to our managers, and to our leaders. I think we're now able to invest more of our time into helping others develop, and really adding to the value of the organization. And that's not through doing repetitive and administrative tasks. That's making sure that we use the technology to do those, and as such, free ourselves up with our time to have much more value-added conversations. So I don't think we should be concerned about it. I think we should see it as an opportunity to really upscale the different functions that we work within.
Thank you. I would totally echo what Claire said, and I'll give you some examples. My team that say we're doing the manual matching in the bank recs, right? So we are kind of redeploying headcount there to work on risk management and understand there's a sophistication in fraud in the world today as to how people will try and break into your bank accounts, try and maybe pretend they're a supplier and we want you to pay us. There's phishing, there's scary things happening out there. And what we are using is taking the time we've saved here, and it's much more interesting. Please set up a forensic accounting team. I want you to break into our bank accounts now. I want you to tell me how you think someone can get around it. How can you break in so that we'll pay you? So we're really moving up the value chain. The other thing I would say is none of my team ever loved doing that. They never got out of bed to say, I really want to go in and match all those things every day. So we're creating opportunities for learning and development. And to be honest, everyone is up for it. And I could go back in my own life, because I'm old enough to remember working before an actual computer. I remember my days in Ernst & Young, and there was one computer on the floor, and one guy had it, and we didn't. And we were there in the days of audit when you ticked and bashed and ticked and bashed. And I remember the days when we had the green and white line paper. I'd say I'm on my own here having this conversation, right? And you thought, that's the, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I don't feel like the granny here. So it's like, you know, was that the end of my job? It wasn't. It, you know, was the days we started using Excel or PowerPoint, right? Now we're moving on, we're replacing them with some of the other brilliant products that we have to, you know, stop using them and use something that's integrated, no touch. And it means we really have time to do a lot of stuff we never had time to do, because you always had time, you know, to do the basics. So our aim is not actually a headcount reduction. Honestly, our aim is we are trying to reinvent where the team are working, and for us to keep pushing the bar, because if we keep pushing the bar, we share how we did it with the customer, and the team are loving it and enjoying it, and you can imagine the savings we get. Yeah, so I would say I can understand your question. It's a really, really good question, but for us, I think it's actually a good thing. People like it. Yeah.
Fantastic. So in light of staying on time, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our business leaders for sharing their transformation stories, for our development team to chiming in and showcasing that it actually brought our business and development team very closely together for your joint benefit. So with that, love to conclude the session. Thank you so much for your attendance and look forward to engage in conversations. Thank you.